Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to today's The Hindu News Analysis. In today's news analysis, we'll be discussing about 7 important news articles covered in the Hindu newspaper today. Coming to the first article, ahead of vote for UNSC seat, India launches campaign brochure. So what is this UNSC United Nations Security Council, right? So, India is about to become a non-permanent member in the UNSC for the year 2021-2022. So, before that, India will highlight the international terrorism, United Nations reforms, and Security Council expansion, streamlining the world body's peacekeeping operations and technology initiatives during its upcoming tenure as a non-permanent member of the UNSC in 2021-2022. So here uh, we'll first discuss about the composition of UNSC. So we all know that UNSC has 15 members. Out of those 15 members, 5 members are permanent members and the remaining 10 members are non-permanent members. So presently India will be becoming a non-permanent member for 2-year tenure. Right. So which all are these 5 permanent members? The 5 permanent members who also have veto powers are the United States, United Kingdom, Russia, China, and France, right? So these were the countries which emerged victorious out of the World War II, right? So they themselves made this United Nations and all in 1949, 1945, all this happened, and they gave powers to themselves, they became the permanent members. And coming to the remaining 10 non-permanent members, so these non-permanent members are elected. These non-permanent members are elected for a tenure of 2 years, right? So India last became a member during 2013 and 2000. So previously in 2013 time. So now India is this is the eighth time where India will be becoming a member of the non-permanent seat. So this will be for 2-year tenure. So anyway, Mr. Jaishankar, the foreign external affairs ministry, he has released the campaign brochure ahead of the vote. India's overall objective during this tenure in the United Nations Security Council will be the achievement of norms. So, what is this norms? A new orientation for a reformed multilateral system. Right. This will be the eighth time India will be occupying a non-permanent United Nations Security Council seat, with the last stint in 2011 and 2012. So sorry, it's not 2013, it is 2011-12. So India last occupied this seat for the year 2011-12, and now it will be occupying for 2021 and 2022, right? So the 2-year tenure. So guaranteed place. So as of now, so the election is happening region wise. Okay, so India is the sole candidate for Asia Pacific, and but India needs two-thirds of the 193 member General Assembly to vote in its favor in a secret ballot scheduled for June 17th in New York. So the election is supposed to happen in June 17th in New York. In 2010, when India stood for the UNSC seat of 2011-12, it won 187 of the 190 votes polled. The government launched its plan for the United Nations Security Council seat as far back as 2013, officials said, with a keen eye on 2021, because it is the year that will mark the 75th year of independence. So that is the reason why India was eyeing on this 2021-2022 seat. And but though India was unanimously agreed to contest from this Indo-Pacific seat, what happened? Asia Pacific seat. What happened is, recently there are some rising tensions in the relation between India and various other countries. For example, there are issues between India and China across the LAC. Also, there are criticisms from countries like Turkey, Malaysia, and other groupings like the Organization of Islamic Cooperation over the government's decision on the Article 30 of the Constitution, Article 30, as well as the Citizenship Amendment Act. And officials admitted that the challenge to win the maximum votes at the General Assembly this time is going to be more uphill than in the past. So even though India is the only country who is contesting from the Asia Pacific, but they still need a two-third majority, right? So two-third majority of 193 countries is important to get elected. So getting this will become a bit, it's not an easy task given the relation strain in relation between India and some other countries. Also here I would also like to discuss about the India's push to reform the membership of the United Nations Security Council. So there is a group called G4. G4 includes countries like Brazil, India, Germany, and Japan. So these four countries are together, and they want to reform the United Nations Security Council, and they want each of these countries, like all four countries, to be members of the United Nations reformed United Nations Security Council, like, as permanent members. Okay, so these G4 countries, they thus they want to reform the UNSC, right? But there are a group of other countries, they are called as Uniting for Consensus, or they are also called as Coffee Club countries. So they are opposing the plan of the G4 countries in order to reform the membership. So which all countries are included in Uniting for Consensus or the Coffee Club? So they'll be the rivals of the G4 nations. Like if Brazil is there in G4, then Argentina will be there in Coffee Club, right? If India is there in G4, Pakistan will be there in Coffee Club. So this Coffee Club is an effort to oppose the efforts of G4 to get into the UNSC permanent membership. That also you can just learn from the prelims perspective. So that is all about the first news article. Coming to the second news article, India China holds talk, agree to resolve differences peacefully. So this also comes under GS2, under international relations. The previous news article also came under GS2, right? So India and China on Friday held talks between the foreign ministries and agreed to follow a consensus that differences should be handled peacefully and should not become disputes. Also, this was said in the highest level diplomatic engagement since the tensions along the LAC erupted in May. So there were tensions across multiple places along the LAC. So which all were these places? These were Pangong, so Lake. There was Galwan Nala, and Demchok was there. And there was issue in Nakula Pass in Sikkim also. So the other three areas were in Ladakh, and Nakula is in Sikkim. So these were the areas where issues had erupted between India and China across the LAC. So both sides agreed to handle the differences through peaceful discussion, bearing in mind the importance of respecting each other's sensitivities, concerns, and aspirations, and not allow them to become disputes. Also, military level talks will be held between the two lieutenant generals on Saturday. So the talks will be continuing after the highest level talks which happened recently. Also, the China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs also said that both countries have agreed to implement the consensus that the two countries do not constitute a threat to each other and do not let differences rise to disputes. It called for enhancing strategic mutual trust and properly managing the differences. So this is a positive step which happened between the India and the China, which has been struggling with issues across the LAC for a couple of months, right? So we hope that the tensions does not escalate, and the status quo will be maintained across the LAC. So here you should know more about the LAC also. Line of actual control, it is a line that demarcates the areas under India's and China's control, right? So this LAC was formed in 1962 after the Indo-China War, which happened in that year, right? But there are some issues also. Aksai which is actually a part of India, is actually on the control of China. So it comes on the Chinese side of LAC, although Aksai is a part of India. So these kind of issues are happening, but it is very important to ensure that status quo is maintained across the LAC. Coming to the next news article, draft rules prohibit use of drones for delivery. So there were drones are a potentially, it's a new technology which can be used for many potential applications, right? So delivery of e-commerce items, delivery of food delivery, so these all were the potential applications which could be done using the drones. But the new draft rules prohibit the use of drones for delivery. So what are those rules? The rule is the Unmanned Aircraft System Rules 2020. It was released on June 2nd for importing, manufacturing, owning drones, as well as for drone ports or airports for drones. So these rules are actually dealing with many aspects related to the use of drones. So as per these rules, no unmanned aircraft shall carry any payload unless specified by the Director General of civil aviation, DGCA. Neither shall a person drop or project or cause or permit to be dropped or projected from a UAS, that is unmanned aerial system, in motion or anything. So it's like the drone should not be allowed to bring in these packages and all, and it should not be allowed to drop the packages to the destination. So that is what these rules are telling. But some trials has been some trial runs have been allocated to some food startups like Zomato and Swiggy. They were allowed to try conduct trials for drones beyond the visual line of sight. So what is this BVLOS? There is something called VLOS, that is visual line of sight. That is the drone should be flying at a visual line of sight, that the operator who is flying the drone should be able to see it, right? So that is called VLOS. And what is BVLOS? It is the beyond the visual line of sight. Because in order to deliver these packages and all, it should definitely go beyond the virtual line of sight, right? So anyway, DGCA has permitted food startups like Zomato and Swiggy to conduct the trials for drones beyond the virtual line of sight. But the rules say that such things should not be happening. So apart from these trials, in order for that food delivery to happen through drones, and it will take a lot of time. It is not something which is about to happen in the recent times. Coming to the next article, close to 28% of Sundarbans damaged in cyclone Amphan. So this topic comes under prelims as well as GS3 under disaster management. About 28% of the Sundarbans have been damaged by Cyclone Amphan, Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee said on Friday at the launch of a drive for planting mangroves and tree to mark the World Environment Day. So yesterday was World Environment Day, right? June 5th. So during this plantation drive, Mamta Banerjee said that 28% of the Sundarbans have been damaged. Also, coming to a prelims related fact, it is related to Dampier-Hodges line. So, what is this Dampier-Hodges line? This becomes very important from the prelims perspective. It is the line that divides, demarcates. It is the northern boundary of the Sundarbans. So, you can just remember it in a simple manner. It is this line, that is Dampier-Hodges line, is the northernmost boundary of the Sundarbans. So, south of this line comes Sundarbans, right? So that is what it is. The Indian Sundarbans, an area south of the Dampier-Hodges line, is spread over 9,630 square kilometers, of which the mangrove forest account for 4,263 square kilometer. So this mangrove is spread for this much area, 9,000 plus area, and out of that 4,263 square kilometers are mangroves. The rest of the thing is like entire Sundarbans, right? And there was an issue of trees turning yellow and red after the cyclone. The official said that the phenomenon was mostly due to the salinity. Due to the increased salinity, because of this, the color of the trees are turning yellow and red after the cyclone. So anyway, despite the massive plantation drives, it may take years to restore the mangrove, official has said. Experts say that mangroves not only reduce wind speed but also break the waves during a cyclone. So the benefits of mangroves, the useful in what all, like how mangroves are useful in environment protection, disaster management, protecting against floods, cyclones, etc. This has to be learned from both the prelims as well as the mains perspective. So that is all about it. And coming to some prelims related fact, you have to learn the important biosphere reserves in the nations. As we all know, there are 18 biosphere reserves in the country. Out of that, 11 of them, 11 out of those 18 biosphere reserves come under the UNESCO's Man and Biosphere program, MAB program. So you should be learning which all are the 18 biosphere reserves in India, the states in which they are located, and out of this 18, you should be learning which 11 of these 18 are under the UNESCO's Man and Biosphere, MAB program. So you should be able to clearly know this, because questions related to biosphere reserves and national parks are continuously being asked from the prelims perspective. So you have to be definitely 100% sure of the 18 biosphere reserves in the country. So yeah, this is a map of the Sundarban Biosphere Reserve. So here you can see that, you can see the line, there is an yellow line which is marked here, yellow line which is marked by the red arrow mark. So that is the Dampier Hodges line, which I have told you, that is the northernmost boundary of the Sundarban forest. And below this yellow line, the entire area is Sundarbans, right? So, and still this Sundarban is divided into more areas. This dark green area is the core area, light green area is the buffer zone, and the yellow areas marked are the transition areas. So the mangroves are mainly found in this core and as well as the buffer zone. Okay. And the area comes to around 4,000 square kilometer. We have already discussed in the previous article. Coming to the next news article, vaccine program gets $8.8 billion funding. Governments across the world on Tuesday pledged $8.8 billion for Global Vaccine Alliance (Gavi) to help immunization programs disrupted by the coronavirus, prompting calls for a global cooperation to ensure a potential COVID-19 vaccine is available to all. So here you have to learn that from the prelims perspective, what is Gavi? Gavi is the Global Vaccine Alliance. So what are the objectives of Gavi? There are two objectives. So the first objective is to continue the immunization programs which were stopped, which were disrupted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And the second one is, second objective is that whenever a COVID vaccine is developed, Gavi should ensure that the COVID vaccine is available to all the countries without any issues of patent issues and all, right? So these are the two objectives of the Global Vaccine Alliance called Gavi. So the meeting beat a target of so the plan was to raise around $7.4 billion to provide vaccines at a much reduced cost to 300 million children around worldwide. But the target has been achieved. Even more money than the target has been achieved. That is $8.8 billion have been raised as of now. So more than 50 countries took part, as well as individuals such as billionaire philanthropist Bill Gates, whose foundation also pledged $1.6 billion. Gavi also launched a new initiative to purchase the potential COVID-19 vaccine, scale up production, and support delivery to developing nations, which raised $567 million in seed money. So this we have discussed as the second objective of Gavi, that is in order to purchase the COVID related vaccine and uh, distribute it towards distribute it to all the world for a lesser cost. That was another plan of Gavi, right? So this meet was inaugurated by British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who hosted the online summit. So this global vaccine summit, it was hosted as an online summit, chaired by the host British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Coming to the next news article, RBI creates 500 crore rupees fund to boost payment infrastructure. So this also comes under, this is also important under prelims because it is a scheme which is launched by the RBI. The RBI has created a payment infrastructure development fund, or PIDF, to encourage acquirers to deploy point of sale infrastructure, that is POS infrastructure, both physical and digital modes in tier 3 to tier 6 centers and northeastern state. So you can see here what is this POS machine. You can see the diagram here. So this machine you might have seen in many shops where you will be swiping the card there, right? So this is called POS machine. So this will help in improving the digital payment infrastructure, right? So the RBI has created this fund in order to encourage the deployment of this POS machine infrastructure. So out of this 500 crore fund, RBI will make an initial contribution of 250 crore to the PIDF, covering half of the fund, while the remaining contributions will be from the card issuing banks. That is the ATM card, the card which you swipe. So the card issuing banks will be contributing to this fund, and the card network operating in the country will also be contributing the remaining 250 crore to this fund. So this will help to further fill up the digitalization of the payment systems. Also, the PIDF will be governed through an advisory council and managed and administered by the RBI. So a possible prelims related question is, the PIDF, that is the Payment Infrastructure Development Fund, is created by option A RBI, option B Ministry of Finance, option C, option D some other two options. So here the answer will be option A RBI, right? So that this is very important on the prelims related purpose. Now coming to the last main news article, a right time to shift pharma gears. So here the article will be discussing about the issues with the patent of the research and development which is happening in the medicine industry, right? So we'll just go through the issue. This is a very good article. So, medicines are amongst the humanity's greatest achievements. The global market for pharmaceuticals is currently worth 110 lakh crore annually and 1.7% of the gross world product. Out of this, roughly 55% of this global pharmaceutical spending, 60% or 60 lakh crore, it is for brand name products which are typically under the patent. That is, out of this 110 lakh crore of global market of pharmaceuticals, around 60 lakh crore comes under patents, right? So this is a statistic which you cannot to write in the mains perspective. Commercial pharmaceutical research and development efforts are encouraged and rewarded through the earnings that the innovators derive from sales of their branded products. So the research and developers, they develop medicines and they give it for patents. The patent is usually 20-year long patents, product patents, and because of these patents, the innovators, the people who develop the medicine, they will be getting back their money. But the issue is that because of this patents, the markup price, the price at which the medicines are sold at, are actually very much higher than the cost of production of the price. For example, United Nations, thousand-fold markups over the production cost are not atypical. So this the cost price, the markup price will be around 1,000 times more than the cost price. So this is a very big issue, right? Because it makes drugs so much costly. And coming to India, the profit maximizing monopoly price of the new medicine is much lower compared to US, but still it is unaffordable to most of the citizens. So this is the issue which is happening with the uh, patent of the medicine, right? Patent of the new medicine that is created. Also, there are three main concerns. So, what are the main concerns due to this patent environment which is existing in the world? The first is that the innovators, motivated by the prospect of large markups, for example, like 1,000 times in the US, right? So, innovators will be motivated by these large markups, and they tend to neglect the diseases suffered by the poor people, because the poor people won't be able to afford the amount, right? So, the uh, innovators will be focusing on the medicines which will be taken by the elite, right? For example, neglected, so there will be diseases such as the neglected tropical diseases. They will be neglected mostly, like the tropical diseases which are very common. So it affects around more than 1 billion people in the world, but they attract only 0.35% of the pharmaceutical industries R&D. So also diseases such as tuberculosis, malaria, and all, which are very common among the poor people, these kind of diseases are also neglected due to because of the reason that these are mostly spread among the poor people, and the poor people will not be able to afford the huge prices, right? So innovators will be neglecting these kind of diseases. This is the first concern. And coming to the second concern, thanks to the large number of affluent or well insured patients, the profit maximizing price of a new medicine tends to be quite high. So, consequently, most people cannot afford the advanced medicines that are still under patent. So, the first concern was the neglect of the common diseases. Second concern is the high price of the medicines which come under the patents. And coming to the third concerns, rewards for developing and then providing pharmaceutical products are poorly correlated with therapeutic value. What it means is that firms earn millions by developing duplicative drugs that add little to our pharmaceutical toolbox, and billions more by cleverly marketing their drugs for patients who will not be benefiting. So what is the issue here? Here the issue is that, see, already there will be an existing medicine. For example, consider the example of paracetamol, a very common medicine. So assume paracetamol has a patent, okay, and what the innovators will do, they'll make minor modifications in the paracetamol, and they'll create a duplicative medicine in the new name. Although the composition will be mostly the same as paracetamol, they'll just make minor changes to make a new medicine, and they'll apply for patents for it. And through this, a lot of money will be uh, looted by these companies, right? So money they will be getting billions of money, but the people will not be getting any new benefit, new health benefit due to this new medicine, right? So this is a third concern which is happening due to this. So to address this problem, the authors of this article, they are proposing a new scheme, that is a health impact fund. It is proposed as an alternative track on which the pharmaceutical innovators may choose to be rewarded. So any new medicine registered with the fund would have to be sold or sold at or below the cost of manufacture and distribution, but would earn 10 annual reward payments based on the health gains achieved by it. So here, uh, if this kind of a fund, a health impact fund, if this kind of a fund is set up, then the medicines will be available at low cost even to the poor people of the world. Also, the innovators will also benefit through annual reward payments based on the performance which is achieved by those medicine, that is the health gains achieved with it, right? So this kind of the creation of a health impact fund is proposed by the authors of this article. And coming to how to fund this health impact fund, the long term funding for the fund might comes from the willing governments or from an international tax. Also, we have already discussed something called as Gavi in the previous article, right? It is a global alliance for vaccines, right? Even such international organizations can provide funding to such health impact fund, right? So funding can be done in that manner. The fund would get pharmaceutical firms interested in certain R&D projects that are unprofitable under the current regime, right? So diseases like the neglected tropical diseases, all those things can get improved funding through this health impact fund. Such projects would predominantly address communicable diseases also, which are neglected as of now. The fund would make an important difference also by rewarding for health outcomes rather than sales. So as of now, what is happening? So if a new patent is happening, regardless of the health outcome, the medicine will be patented. So if this fund is brought into picture, then the funding will be given based on the health outcome. So that will be more beneficial, right? So that is what this article talks about. And coming to the issue of state risk, participation of commercial pharmaceutical firms is crucial for tackling of the global pandemic. So there should be private sector which is participating, right? But there is a lot of risk which is faced by the private sector. For example, compulsory licensing by the government divest these private sector commercial firms of their monopoly rewards, right? So this health impact fund, what it actually does is removes this risk by reducing the interference which is done by the state government, I mean the countries, like, so thereby this health impact fund is a better alternative to the existing patent mechanism which is existing in the pharma sector. So that is what this article talks about. So here, what you can how you can use this in the main answer is that you can use it under GS2, under health. You can mention that is a new fund called health impact fund should be created in order to ensure that the uh, patent process is reformed in the pharma sector. So this will help the poor people. This will also help the neglected diseases, for example, like tuberculosis, malaria, and all. So all these things you can write as a way forward in the health and health related answers under GS2. So that is all about this article. Coming to the other articles which are important today, first one is government suspends insolvency proceedings, page 15. So here, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many of the industries are facing liquidity crisis, and the COVID has badly affected the industry, right? So government had already bought an insolvency and bankruptcy code to deal with stressed industries, right? But as of now, because of most of the industries are stressed only due to the COVID-19 pandemic, as of now this insolvency proceedings is being suspended as of now, so that simply every industries won't be dragged to the insolvency procedure because just because they are affected by the COVID pandemic. Second news article, move fast to ease liquidity. RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das. So Shaktikanta Das, who is the RBI's governor, he said that there is a very urgent need to improve the liquidity in the economy in order to improve the demand as well as improve the supply as well as the demand, and in order to ensure that economic revival happens. So this news can be read under page 15. And third news article, don't initiate new schemes, the ministry is told. So the Ministry of Finance has told the other ministries to stop initiating any new schemes as of now, because the government is not having that much money to start new schemes, and the focus should be on the covid related covid related schemes like fighting the covid pandemic. So money, the resources should be properly allocated in order to uh, ensure that the optimal fund is allocated to the covid pandemic rather than creating new schemes as of now. So we all know that the government has already announced Atmanirbhar Bharat, out of which, like for which 20 lakh crore is required and all. So in order to save money for that, the government said the ministries not to initiate any new schemes. Coming to the fourth news article, rapid community spread possible, Kerala CM. So we all know that there are various stages of transmission in the COVID pandemic. For example, there is, I mean, initial cases come from the international travelers. Then it spreads to local transmission happens. That is, contacts directly happens with this international travelers, and that's how the contacts are spread. Contact cases happen. That is called local transmission. But there comes community transmission where the origin of this spread is not known, right? So if a patient is affected, like we won't be able to find from where did he get the infection. So that stage is called community transmission. So the Kerala chief minister is telling that rapid community spread might have happened. So this is against what the Indian government is telling, that the community spread has not happened. So that is what the stand of the Ministry of Health, Central Ministry of Health. But Kerala CM is telling that that might have happened. So this news you can read under page 8. So that's all for today's news article. I hope you like the video. Please press the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the video with your friends. Have a great day. Thank you.